Welcome back, basketball fans. You are listening to the NTC podcast. We are back with episode 48. I'm your host, Aaron Washington. Just excited to be back in the booth with you guys as we get deeper into the NBA schedule. Joining me on this podcast for the first time in NTC history is Aaron Pearlstein. Aaron is doing some great work over at Tulane right now. He's finishing up his master's. So, Aaron, I know you're a busy guy. You're deep in the work there. The grind is real. But in any case, we're glad to have you as part of the NTC team and glad you were able to carve out some time for the pod tonight. So excited to
absolutely. I appreciate you guys letting me on.
100%, man. We had to do it, as someone that's gone through some of the grind that we've all gone through at NTC, doing the SBC thing and everything. We gotta show the love, man. So
it's a family for sure.
Absolutely. So before we get started here, what we like to do on NTC, obviously we need to do this, as one of our sponsors here is Bet99 Sportsbook. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, you will see that we have our Bet99 Sportsbook banner up at the top right. So they're the official betting partner of NTC, and they have some really great resources over there on their website. So if you guys are interested in placing a bet, getting involved in the betting game in any sort of way, they're definitely going to be one of the resources you want to hit up right off the bat. So bet99.com is where you want to go for that. Pre-match, in-play sports betting, all that good stuff. If that's your cup of tea, go for it. Me and Aaron, as being a part of SBC, they have their thing going in Vegas, and that's the hot spot, man. So it just kind of comes full circle, I guess, with this stuff. But if you guys are interested at all in doing that, then definitely dive into their content over there. It's going to be well worth your time. So I guess this is the collision course we come to, man. Aaron on the pod. It was just a matter of time before it was going to happen. So
it was inevitable. Yep,
exactly, man. To get things started, I just wanted to get your thoughts on a bit of breaking news that just came out not too long ago. I think it was maybe like an hour before we started this recording. But I think it was Shams on Twitter just announced that the start of the season for next season, so the 23-24 season has already been announced as October 24th is going to be the first day. And so that wasn't surprising that day of that part of the year is always where the season usually starts. But what you also put in there, which is interesting, was that it's going to be an 80-game season, and they're going to start incorporating that in-season tournament starting next season, which is very interesting. So I've heard a lot of different things on this, a lot of different opinions. Some people like it. Some people are not for it. Me personally, I'm kind of torn. I like what they're trying to do here, bring more intrigue to the regular season. But at the same time, I'm concerned, an in-season tournament, who's going to participate? Are the starters going to care at all? What's the prize? What did they get to gain from this? What are your thoughts on that, Aaron? It's kind of like an appetizer before we get to the main course.
I think you hit it right in the head. It's in theory, it's a great idea. It's going to pair the idea that it's not really conferences. They'll probably put it all together. So we'll see different matchups that we don't see very often. That's going to be interesting in a more of a playoff format than just a regular season game. So those people that have been asking for conferences to go away and things like that to have just 1 to 16, they'll get some kind of taste there. But the first thing that comes to my mind is, are these guys going to want to, risk an injury on this in-season tournament if they have to then, compete for a regular season and compete for a playoff spot right after? We saw in the All-Star game, finally they started to kind of add some accolades and different things to get them playing and change the game format. It seems like a great idea in theory, but I'm definitely concerned about what the players feel. I would hope that they definitely got a feel of what the players thought about it. It's interesting. I feel like there has to be a pretty good big payout or something if there's a win.
Yeah, I think it's got to be substantial because you think about what these starters earn already, and to make it worth their while, you can't offer them 100 or 200K. I don't think that's going to, really sway them to participate. So it'd have to be a pretty large payout, which I don't know if the league would be willing to do for these teams for something that's not a part of the playoffs. So I don't know. I have concerns, as I think we all do with that format. So I'm just not
And
sure how that goes.
is it in one location? Are they traveling? Like, what if the California team is, you know, I think there are a
Yeah.
lot of some intangibles I would have to learn about to see exactly how I feel about it.
Right. I think that's the right way to go about it as far as like not casting judgment until we kind of get the
Hmm.
full details. But just off the bat, it seems like an idea that has good intentions, but could also kind of unravel. As we're going to get into here in just a minute, I mean, the regular season has become even more of a marathon, I feel like, than it has been in the past with these
Definitely.
guys load managing and some of these injuries popping up with these star players that's really kind of affecting these teams as we go through the campaign. It's just, I think it's going to be tough to kind of get this to take hold of the league because of the way people approach the regular season. So
Yep, absolutely.
could end up working out. But as we get into injury news, man, unfortunately, we do have to cover one of the game's biggest stars at the center spot has unfortunately gone down with the calf strain just recently here. It looked like it could be worse as they were playing the other night. It looked like it was going to be some kind of
Yeah,
severe injury because when you see non-contact injury, when you see Shams and Woj report that, like your heart just drops. You never
right.
see that. But luckily, it was a calf strain. It's still going to cost them 4 to 6 weeks, I anticipate. But at least it wasn't ACL. It wasn't a meniscus. It wasn't an Achilles injury. So definitely dodgeable in that regard. But still, the Timberwolves have another problem to deal with, as if they didn't already have enough problems to deal with. Uh,
Yeah.
as of this recording, I mean, this is November 30th. They're 10-11, 3-game losing streak. One of those games came against the Charlotte Hornets. That's not a great way to lose. I watched that game on Friday. I was very, very disappointed with the way they played. I mean, Charlotte had no business being in that game with
Hmm.
no
Yep.
LaMelo. They're shorthanded themselves. Terry Rozier was out, I believe. And Charlotte ended up taking that game. And I mean, the Wolves shot very poorly. I mean, Towns was extremely inefficient. I mean, he was in the midst of his worst 3-point shooting season, I think, of his career. He's in the low 30s
Yep.
after being around 40 last season. And the defense is just very inconsistent. The offense gets very clunky at times. And the three of them between Russell and Towns and Edwards still trying to kind of find that balance between who goes, is it your turn, is it my turn? It was all a whole mess. Now they have to deal with the aftermath of this Towns injury, which puts even more of a stress on Edwards to step up. He's been inconsistent. Russell needs to step up.
Yep.
Nas Reed will get more minutes at the backup center spot now, which not exactly a bad thing. He's a pretty good backup center, but just a lot of things that the Wolves need to deal with. So I mean, Towns was having kind of a down year by his standards. Rebounds were down about 1.5 from last year. The
Yep.
efficiency drop is down. So I mean, he was having struggles, but still, I mean, he's a 2010 type of guy. Well, not necessarily 2010 this year with Gobert in the middle, but 20-6 with, in theory, good 3-point shooting. So just a lot they have to deal with right now. But in your mind, how do the Wolves best navigate this injury? Losing one of their best players, if not their best player on the floor, in the midst of what was already kind of like a rocky start to their season after about 20-21 games.
Yeah, I see it. It's obviously heartbreaking that he misses, this much time. But I would say I kind of look at it as a kind of a double-edged sword. Obviously, there's a hard part. You're losing a franchise player. You're losing, the three-point champion. You're losing a guy that is everything in a 6'11" center. But at the same time, you just put your draft capital into Rudy Gobert. You moved a lot of assets and you tried to create this idea of playing them together. I was a big fan of it. I think Cat was able, it's everything showed that he was able to play at that forward position, space the floor, do some Spain pick and rolls, have him, pop out when Gobert is driving. It seemed like it was a pretty good fit, but it hasn't been working in any way, shape, or form. And I think this missing Towns missing time, I feel like will give the team some way to mesh around like each other. I mean, for like, and then at the same time, they haven't been good with Cat on the floor. And this might be not a blessing in disguise, but a way for them to, just bolster the confidence of all the other players, get some wins under their belt. I mean, right now per cleaning the glass, he's in 46th percentile in on and off stats. So he only brings 1 point per 100 possessions to the team compared to when he's off the court. Defensively they're better, offensively they're better. They shoot the ball better. They space the floor a lot better. Their best like 5 lineups don't even have Cat in it, and it could be the pairing, it could be the position that he's placed in, but I see this as a double-edged sword that allows the Wolves to kind of say, okay, we tried this experiment, we're still trying it, but now one of the variables can't play, we can't do anything about that. Let's see what we can do with this group, and let's see what we can how we can move this variable, how we can get Anthony Edwards into better spots, and hopefully they can get that part stronger, and then just add a superstar talent in Cat, and finally start trying to mesh and have an efficient game and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree on that point. And it reminds me of what I was thinking about the Heat the other day, just thinking about their slow start, their injury concerns with Jimmy Butler being out, Tyler Hero, Max Strus, a bunch of key players. It allowed the opportunity for guys farther in the rotation, farther down the rotation, to get reps and get confidence. Like Caleb Martin was on a huge tear. Even Bam, getting him more opportunities to kind of be the guy, one of the main drivers of offense. He's seeing some incredible numbers right now. Kyle Lowry getting him back on track after, looking like he was in a steep decline. So it does give guys opportunities to kind of step up in the wake of injuries and have great moments. I love that you are citing cleaning the glass, because it's one of my go-tos. So I'm trying to find a fellow.
Yeah, I mean, on top of that, like I was gonna bring another one. Even I love the site. Shout out to Ben Taylor, but their starting lineup of D'Lo and McDaniels, Karl-Anthony Towns, Rudy Gobert. That's the 52nd best lineup in the NBA per differential. They score 3 points less than the league average. They turn the ball over 3% more than the league average. I think now you take out one variable, and you can see if it works. You can you get to work with different lineups, and so I just see it as a double-edged sword, like you were saying. Like it allows other guys to step up, put people in different positions, and there's no better way no time to improvise than now for the Timberwolves. So
exactly,
they got to make this work.
And we talk a lot about their offense, and obviously we should. We're trying to get these twin towers out here, trying to coexist. It's very difficult on that end. But defensively as well, I mean, it's just been very inconsistent. And I think a lot of that comes down to the way Anthony Edwards has been defending. Watching him the last 2 games, 2 of the last few games against the Warriors, against the Charlotte Hornets, I just see a consistent trend. And I saw somebody on Twitter say the same thing as I was about to type it. Basically, his defensive attention to detail, his effort on the defensive end just wanes so much. It's like one possession, you see him in a stance, you see him moving, fighting through screens. He looks great. And then the next possession, he's off ball. He loses track of his man. He kind of falls asleep for a second. And I think it's been more so of those lapses, more so than there's flashes, but I think the lapses overshadow that a lot of times. And going back to cleaning the glass for a minute, the Wolves allow 4.8 more points per 100 possessions when he's on the court, or when he's off. When he's on the court rather than off, they allow 4.8 more points per 100 possessions. That's the 22nd percentile for a guy in his position. You don't want to see that from a guy that has all the tools to be a great defender, and he's shown it at several times in his career. So it's just very tough for them to kind of fight through that, because as we know, Gobert and Towns, they can be good defenders, especially Gobert. But if those guys, because Russell has his issues on that end for sure, if Edwards is not going to fight, then that just kind of allows these guys, because Gobert's going to play in a drop. And I saw this a lot the other day. If he's in a drop, guys are turning the corner. I mean, that 12 to 15 foot range is going to be wide open all day.
Right. Exactly.
And allows guys to get going. So I just want to see more from him on that end because I know he's capable. So it's just a little disappointing.
Yeah, and you brought up Russell, and I think when they kind of devised this plan, when they brought in all those new front office executives, and they levied the draft capital and the future on this starting five, I feel like they had the idea that Anthony Edwards will be the perimeter defender in that kind of pick and roll situation, especially a drop situation, because D'Angelo Russell, he's a veteran now, and we know that's not what he does. We know that that's not a strength of his, and instead of attacking him for it, they put someone next to him to change that disadvantage for the team. And now we're seeing a lack of energy, a lack of effort, and you now have basically no defense on the perimeter, and it's forcing Rudy Gobert to foul out in most games. It's forcing Karl-Anthony Towns to have a lot of situations where his lateral quickness, which we know is not very fast, to have to guard these guards. It's definitely, it starts from the top. It starts with energy. It starts with effort. But I totally agree that going into this year, Anthony Edwards was a plus defender, and it's a very unique situation that he's in. That this lack of effort and energy has such a detriment because of who they've put him with and what they expected out of him.
For sure. Yeah, it's really it's like a trickle-down effect. I mean, if Russell's not going to be there giving effort, Edwards is not going to be there giving effort. It strains Towns. It strains Gobert. They give up more points. And it's just it creates an entirely untenable situation on defense. So, for sure, it's something they got to work out. And I think that there's going to be opportunities for them to do that with Jaden McDaniels coming in and getting a lot of those minutes. With Kyle Anderson, I would assume if he's healthy, he's going to be starting in that front court. They have guys that can pick up the slack, but it's just about that consistency, especially on defense. I think it's going to be a catalyst for them going forward.
Absolutely.
So defense is glamorous and all, man. But at the end of the day, we're not here for defense. Defense doesn't sell tickets. Nope. It's all about the offense. That's what the audiences want to see. And in that regard, the Celtics have been everything we could have asked for and then some. Across the board, they've been fantastic on that end of the floor. So good, in fact, that they're posting some of the best offensive numbers in league history. So this is going back this is going back decades, going back to all the data we can pull. It's really just incredible numbers. So if we exclude garbage time, we're just talking about the minutes to where, there's a legitimate game on our hands. Right. Boston is posting a 121.2 offensive rating. So just for reference, that's 4 points per 100 possessions better than what Utah is posting right now, which is second place. So if you take that gap, 4 points per 100 possessions, that gap between Boston and Utah is the same gap between second, which is Utah, and New York, and they rank 13th. So just by comparison. And shout out to Shane Young on that one. He just posted an article about the Celtics, a legendary offensive performance. He posted those numbers here in his article on Forbes.com. And if we go to the half court, they're scoring about 108 points per 100 possessions. At first glance, they may not seem that great, but we're talking about the half court setting, which,
no transition, anything.
Right, exactly. Strictly half court. So the league average is 95. This is what Shane posted, 95. So plus 12.8 relative to the average. So that's the highest. And he went back to clean the glass once again. So Shane Young is also a proponent of clean the glass. But that's the highest mark of the last 20 years. So that's the highest relative half-court offense compared to the average since the 12-13 Miami Heat. They were plus 10.9. So bonkers numbers, man. I mean, you can go on and on, the three-point percentage, all this good stuff, but that should give you a snapshot of how incredible this offense has been. In your opinion, if we can trace this back to, I know it's going to be a ton of players, a ton of factors, but trace this back to maybe one or two key players, key strategies that you can think of that you've seen or you've noticed. Like, what is driving this success? I mean, obviously Tatum is one of the great offensive superstars in our game, but it's a collective effort. So, who else is chipping in here? Like, what
Absolutely.
magic is being done here from like a coaching perspective and everything?
Yeah, I mean, you explained, it's historic. It's I'm a big proponent in the data sampling, and everyone was talking about it when they were starting 10 games, 11 games, 12 games in, and I was like, just wait. We're now 25% of the season in, and it's still just insane numbers. So it's something that we can't excuse. It's something that they might have an historic season. I mean, 25% of the season is that's substantial, and I think it starts from the top. That starting lineup is just so dominant. They have such a great bench unit, but that first five is just so dominant. I mean, they actually average they score 63.1 more points per 100 possessions than the league average of a lineup. They're the number one lineup in the NBA. But I would have to point, if I had to point to one stat, it would have to be that 44% of their shots are good quality threes. And of those 44%, they're shooting 40% from the field. So, they're not only getting open threes, they're hitting open threes.
Mm-hmm.
And, as an analytics guy, that's music to my ears. That's exactly, you're finding the highest quality shot and you're hitting it. But not only that, they take 3% more corner threes than the NBA average. They turn the ball over 2% less. They have the highest point differential in the league. It starts with that top five, and it's they're 90th percentile in almost every type. And I think it's just the will. There's so much chemistry in between them. They've been playing together for so long. Yep. And I think it starts from the same thing. I think it starts from the top. Their superstar is such a tireless scorer, but not only in the scoring that we've seen in the last few years, he's such an efficient scorer. Mm-hmm. And it's not, a lot of people aren't talking about it, but when you see Jason Tatum go for 28, 29 in a game, but then is shooting 65% from the field and 40% from three, that's insane. Like that should not be overlooked, but it's being overlooked because he's doing it night in and night out. Yep. And having a superstar like that, having a superstar that's so unselfish like him, and then pairing him with the defensive player of the year, just a high esteemed player in Al Horford, Grant Williams, who's shooting 40+% from three, who can space the floor and defensively, starts a lot of transitions. Jaylen Brown being another superstar next to him. There is no weakness. And we have yet to see a team capitalize on any kind of bad shooting night for them or anything like that, because there isn't one. Mm-hmm. And, I would love to say it looks like a bell curve and they're going to revert back to the mean, but I would have thought they would have reverted back to the mean already. So that we might have just a historic offense on our hands.
I definitely think they can revert back a slightly. I think it's going to be tough for them to maintain this level of dominance for an entire season. But like you said, I mean, 25% is a nice sample size. We're talking about 21 games or so through the campaign, and it doesn't look like they want to let up anytime soon. Yeah. Going back to Tatum for a minute, I mean, you're giving him a lot of praise, and I think rightfully so. He's shooting a career high versus percentage of his shots at the rim this season, 39%. Mm-hmm. He hasn't gotten above 33% in any prior season. So putting pressure on the defense at the rim, I think, diversifying his shot profile a little bit has definitely helped in that regard. And you look at his assist numbers. He's not going to average 8, 9, 10 assists. Like Marcus Smart is going to be the ones you're going to see crazy assist numbers per game from. But for Tatum, it's more about how often is he looking for that pass instead of just trying to score every time. And I think from that perspective, he's doing a fantastic job. You go and look at his assist percentage, it's a career high. So, I mean, obviously he's out here and he's really making a concerted effort to get guys involved. He's at a 19.7, almost 20% as far as assists go. He's still keeping his points per shot attempt up in the 89th percentile. So he's still efficient. And, the team as a whole, if we're talking about moving the ball, they do it efficiently. they really don't turn the ball over much. I think that was one of the numbers you just mentioned a minute ago. But I mean, they're first in turnover percentage in the league. They only turn the ball over 13% of the time. So, 87% of the time you're getting great shots and you're just creating more opportunities for yourself, more possessions. You're going to have a historic offense. When you pair all that stuff together.
Absolutely. And then I was going to say another point on the Jason Tatum, like not really. I would say I'm never going to look at him in a career and look at his assists per game because I don't think that's the impact he's going to have on the game. I think the impact is you look at what the other guys are shooting, their frequency, their accuracy. That's the quote unquote assists per game that I want to see from him because it shows the just sheer impact of him having the ball in his hands on the defense. You see 6 guys on the Celtics shooting 40% plus from 3. The top being Sam Hauser, 48%. All of them are above Jason Tatum, above Jaylen Brown, and that speaks volumes. That because their role players are coming onto the court, and there needs to be so much sheer help, and there's so much sheer impact on Tatum having the ball that other people are scoring and shooting the ball and getting open looks. So that's what I look at, and that's equivalent to him averaging 8 points per game to me, or 8 assists per game, things like that.
Yes. I know there's a stat, I think it's in Synergy, that kind of tracks not direct assists, but shots that lead to an assist.
Yeah.
If we looked at that, I'm sure that would be that would tell a better story than just looking at assists per game.
Yeah.
But I think looking at turnover percentage is a great indicator of that. Assist percentage, assist relative to usage rate, another stat that Clean the Glass tracks that I absolutely love. He's doing great in that regard as well, above average in that regard. And I mean, his usage is almost the highest in the league. He's at 31% usage. So if you are in the 56th percentile when it comes to assist relative to usage rate, I think that's pretty good. Just looking at that. So, I mean, he has a lot of possessions on his hands where he needs to do something with the ball, make a good play for someone else. And I think, you mentioned Sam Hauser, one of those underrated players on the team. I saw a stat the other day saying that he is he's making history as far as the lowest percentage of his shots that come off of that are self-created. I think 98% of his shots are created by someone else.
Wow.
And they're just straight catch and shoot shots. And I think that speaks to the ball movement of Boston, the efficiency when it comes to just making the right pass, because the specialists are specializing at a high rate.
Yeah, right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just another indicator of like how great they are. And what's blowing my mind is like this offense is so proficient that their defense has taken a dive from last year.
Exactly.
But they're still number 1 in the East. They have the best record in the NBA, 17-4. Their defense is average.
Right. We were talking about their defense like we're talking about their offense right now. So it's weird, and no one's talking about how they did. Yeah, they've taken actually a pretty substantial dip from where they were last year, especially in the playoffs. But it's been so masked by their offensive prowess and efficiency that
hasn't mattered.
Right, exactly.
Teams can't keep up with them. Transition. Just talked about the half court settings, how efficient they are from that part of the court. Just across the board, just killing it. I think there was a YouTube video, a thinking basketball video, just the other day on YouTube talking about the Celtics and just highlighting the ball movement, the efficient shooting. Grant Williams has been lights out. I think he deserves a lot of credit. Al Horford. I mean, they're playing these 5-out lineups to where, like you said, there's not really any weakness. You can't leave anybody open. You can't cheat off anybody. So you just look at everybody's strengths and like what they can do. They're all pretty versatile players. You're not going to be able to kind of shoehorn any of them into one role. Like, oh, he has a Joe Harris or a Duncan Robinson. I can force him to drive. I'm good. Everybody kind of has a diversified skill set, which I think is a credit to the roster building of this team. They have pretty much everything you could want, especially on.
And I mean, they're getting Robert Williams back. He hasn't played this year, which is such an insane thought. Now you're getting a defensive, stalwart in the paint that was averaged almost 2 blocks per game on top of the just historic offense. I don't know who's going to stay with them in
Yeah,
any way, shape, or form.
they have to be a favorite to make the finals, even win the championship at this point. They're kind of running
Yep.
away from the competition in a lot of ways. So excited to see if they can keep this up. I wonder if the introduction of Rob Williams will. I'm
Maybe
not
a
going
little
to say it's going
shaky.
to like ruin everything, but
Right.
offense is going to be an adjustment period. So I think we
Sure.
can see
Yeah.
a little bit of a dip there. But in any case, I mean that's just scary to think about.
Yeah.
They're really
Yeah.
incredible. So obviously the Celtics have been doing some great things on the court, making history. Let's zoom in a little bit more. So we looked at the team as a whole making history. How about a player, an individual player making history? The one and only Luka Doncic from Slovenia,
Yep.
making waves in the NBA. He just dropped a 40-point triple-double last night against Golden State. Incredible performance. I think his scoring was incredible. His passing might have been even better, just looking at some of the reads he was making. So just to kind of put his triple-double situation in perspective, he is the sixth player to record 5 or more 40-point triple-doubles in history. Let's go through some of the names in front of him. I think, Aaron, you might have heard of these guys before.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron at 6, 40-point
Yeah.
triple doubles. LeBron has played substantially more games in his career than Luka, and he's only one ahead.
Yeah. Just a few more games.
Just a few. Yeah, maybe like 1,000, something like
Yeah.
that. Wild stuff. Wilt Chamberlain has 7. Westbrook has 13, so he's in third. James Harden has 16 in his career. That's honestly blows my mind too. James Harden, peak James Harden was
Yeah.
he was the real deal.
Uh-huh.
Man.
Yep.
Oscar Robertson holds the lead at 22 40-point triple doubles in history. So Luka has only played a few years. He's already broken into the top 6 all time. Incredible.
That's some pretty good company for sure.
100%. So another stat. This is courtesy of Shane Young, Forbes Sports. So Luka is 23 years old as of this recording. He's leading the league in scoring, 33.5 points per game through just over 20 games. He's making 60% of his 2-pointers. He's shooting 60% as far as a true shooting percentage. So if we incorporate free throw, 2s, and 3s, 60%. His assist percentage is over 45%. Turnover rate is below 12%. So if you remember, we were just talking about the Celtics and their turnover rate was, I believe, 13%. They lead the league.
Right.
Luka was under 12. So just mind-boggling stuff. Like if you want to chew on that for a second, ludicrous production. I wonder if this is going to take a toll on him at some point. I mean, I don't have his usage rate in front of me, but I'm willing to bet it's mid-30s, something like that if I had to guess, even upper 30s. I mean, it's just insane stuff. I worry that he's going to burn out like James Harden because James Harden's on that same list, 40-point triple-doubles. James Harden was leading the league in scoring for a few years there. Every year, he ran into a wall. I'm just scared that it's going to be the same thing with Luka. Regular season success does not necessarily mean postseason success. So I love to see this production. I'm not going to say I don't want to see it. As a fan, I am all for this. But from the Mavs perspective, might not be the best thing for them in the long term. How do you feel about his production?
Yeah.
How does it affect him going forward?
No, I hear what you're saying. I mean, the stat 42.3 usage percentage, which is insane.
Oh,
That's an insane number. 100th percentile in the NBA. You know, I think he is number 1 in usage percentage. He plays 37 minutes per game. You know, there's a 15-point differential, and it's on and off. You know, 44% of the Mavs shots have been assisted on by Luka this year.
Wow.
You know, yeah. So it revolves around him like as much as it can be, and you know, but the thing is they're not winning. You know, they're right now at a 500 rate, and you know it's not Luka. You know, I would be more concerned about the supporting cast and you know just the overall The sets that they're running. I feel like they need some kind of different uh, game plan going on. It can't just be Luka going in isolation and hoping he finds an open man or hoping he hits a ridiculous shot, because it's just like he's putting up stats, but it's not leading to wins. And
Right.
I don't want to say that he's left out there in the cold and he's never had a good teammate and all those things that you see on Twitter. We see all his former tweet. Porzingis went for 45 last night. Brunson's killing it in New York. So I don't want to go that far, but the pieces that they moved so many things for to bring in for him are just not meshing well. And I don't know if it's really Luka's hoarding the ball too much, dribbling too much, or they're not shooting the ball efficiently, or someone's not adhering to the game plan, something, but it's not working. But at the same time, we're seeing him put up historic numbers. So I would have to say, I think it's when he's off the court. The passing stops, transition stops, their assist percentage drops by 12% when he comes off the court. So they're clearly not, it's a lot more isolation ball, and it's not as much swinging the ball and things like that. They get outscored by 4 when he's off the court, and they outscore the opponent by 4 when he's on the court. So, it's a 7.5 point differential when it comes to the offensive rating. So that's substantial and that's impactful. And this is a great way to drive your superstar player out of your team off his rookie contract and off his rookie max contract, is really not adding pieces to show his prowess and lead to wins and things like that. I think if they didn't make the conference finals last year, we'd see a disgruntled star in our hands, but hopefully they can figure it out.
Yeah, I really hope they can too, because I mean, when it's all said and done, I mean, Luka is going to be one of the very best that I think we've ever seen in the game. I mean, just based off of the rate he's on, the pace he's on, and what he's doing so far at his age is just unprecedented. And the problem the Mavs are running into, and they highlighted this a lot last night against Golden State, was the drop off as far as their 3-point shooting from their 3-point shooters. You go and look at Luka himself. He's never been a great 3-point shooter in terms of percentage. He's at 32. That's not really the big story. It's more so it comes down to Reggie Bullock. He's shooting 27%. That's not like him.
Yeah.
Dorian Finney-Smith at 34. That's a few percentage points lower than his average. Tim Hardaway Jr. is at 32%. Maxi Kleba is at 29%. And that's his calling card as such big. So if he's shooting sub 30%, that's a huge problem. So, I mean, across the board, I mean, the only guys that are really shooting at a high clip from 3 are Dinwiddie and Christian Wood. Everybody else, well, Josh Green too, but his is a little smaller sample size. But across this roster, I mean, there's just guys really kind of underperforming their averages from 3. So I think it kind of stifles the offense a little bit, because obviously it's an offense designed around Luka, kind of like those Cavaliers teams were with LeBron, where it was like just spread the floor out, just put shooters everywhere, driving kick, you double, skip passes there.
Right.
But if those aren't producing points off of clean threes, and the Mavs have no problem getting clean threes, because as we've seen, Luka is a wizard when it comes to moving the ball, but it's just not resulting in a lot of points. These guys are just having off years so far, and there's a lot of time to turn it around. So this isn't final by any means, but it's just hurting them. And that's why we see an offensive rating so far of just 13th. But if you go back a couple of years, I mean, they were doing what the Celtics are doing this season. Right. You go back and you look in the 1920 season, I mean, they were 116 points a game for a rating. They were first, and I mean, they were making history, and then they kind of leveled off a little bit. 9th the next season. Last season, they were 15th. And then this season, I mean, they're a little bit above average, but with Luka, you want to be in the top 10 at least.
Absolutely.
When you're talking about offensive rating. So just some
I mean,
work on.
Yeah, but I think something that we have, like, with their that drop in 3-point percentage and a few people that are, shooting at a high clip, those two guys, they're shooting the lowest 3-point attempts in their career. Compared to the last 5 years, Christian Wood. So they're not utilizing the pieces they went out and got. They're not utilizing them and putting them in positions that, succeed. We've seen Christian Wood have some cryptic messages to the media and things like that. And I think, he's not being utilized correctly. I don't think the whole team is being utilized correctly. Last year, they were in the top 5 in percent of plays in transition. Right now, they're 27th. I think that they're adhering to a lot more, half court set, let Luka go into a pick and roll, pick and pop, decide how it goes, instead of, running with the ball, getting Luka in transition, getting people moving. I think a lot of people are, disgruntled and they got to get back to what worked last year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I went back and looked at the Christian Woods numbers, and I got to say, you make a great point. His 3-point attempts are down from about 5 the 2 years prior in Houston, down to 3.5, 3.4, which is concerning. I mean, he's shooting a career high from 3. He's shooting 40%. So just considering the strengths he brings to the court, you would want him to at least shoot 4 attempts per game. Something like that, 4.5.
Hasn't started a game this year. He's only playing 25 minutes per game. I'm just confused. You go out and get a guy that you're saying is going to be the perfect fit next to Luka,
right?
But you're not making it work. So I'm a little confused on the game plan and team construction if you're not going to use it correctly.
I am too. I think the main reason the Mavs aren't going to him more is from the defensive end of the floor.
Of course.
And that's why they're kind of limiting his minutes a little bit, which I understand. So maybe he won't get back to 30 or 32 minutes a game playing on the court like he was with Houston. But still, I mean, 25, I think that's a little low for him. Not starting any games. You can make a case to where he should be starting. But, I mean, his rebounds his per minute production is very good. Mm-hmm. So I think he's made a case for a little bit more time on the court. And then, if you want to jumpstart your offense, I mean, the best way to do that is to give your shooters, the guys that are hitting shots, more time on the court. I just think that would just make sense.
Absolutely.
To do that. So hopefully they can find a way to kind of balance that out so that they're not hemorrhaging points if they give him more minutes. That's the big challenge for Dallas. But if you lose Jalen Brunson, you bring in Spencer Dinwiddie to suck up some of the minutes, Tim Hardaway Jr. Dinwiddie's paying off. THJ is not so far. I mean, he's shooting a very low percentage from 3. You go out and get Kemba Walker, which I think that's going to be a wash. I mean, I don't
know if it'll change it. I've always loved Kemba, but I don't think that's the problem. Yeah.
No. I mean, he's okay. He can give you 10, 12 minutes a game off the bench, few vintage buckets. But at the end of the day, you want somebody that can kind of play off of Luka. And I think one of the best guys on that team, honestly, to play off of Luka is Christian Wood, just as a trailer, shooting threes, as a pick and pop partner. He's a very good role partner as well. I mean, we've seen Christian Wood get up and do some serious damage as a vertical spacer. So I would actually like to see him get more minutes, and not just because I have him on one of my fantasy teams. I'm not that selfish.
I mean. On top of that, I was just interested, looking at the pairing of Luka and Christian Wood as like a 2-man lineup, and it seems like there's a lot of efficiency, like around 49% from the field together. They have a high point differential. It's led to wins, so I understand the defensive thing, but I think they got to start. Yeah, exactly like what we've been saying. It's just. The roster creation and the roster flexibility needs to be fixed for sure.
Yep. It's going to be tough. And, we can get into this at another time. But, as far as their salary cap situation, it's just tough with I believe Christian Wood's going to be a free agent after this season. He's coming up on that pretty soon. And Luka, Supermax. I mean, it's going to be tough to kind of remake this roster to really give Luka the help he needs. I was hoping a couple of years ago they went out and got DeMar DeRozan. I think him playing with Luka with his passing ability would have been really fun to watch. But I mean, they'll just have to kind of tinker with some things in this roster. But as long as you have Luka, you're going to have a puncher's chance. That much is certain.
That's for sure.
Aaron, this has been an awesome conversation. This is going to bring us to our end here for this episode. But I want to thank you again for taking the time. I'm excited to have you in the rotation.
Absolutely.
It's going to
I'm
be a lot of
excited
fun.
to.
Yeah, we got some guests lined up. We're going to bring you in some of the guests. That's going to be a fun time. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great time, man. So best of luck with everything going on with your studies. Hope that all goes well. Absolutely. Be sure to check out notradeclause.com, guys, if you're looking for a resource to get some cap sheet information. If you want to listen to all our podcasts over there, get all your episodes in one place. Our transaction log is live. Draft pick tracker is also up. So if you need any of that information when it comes to the background of the NBA, we got you guys covered. NoTradeClause.com. Follow the link there, and we have all that information available for you 24/7, day and night, whenever you're looking for it. So everybody, thanks again for listening to this episode of NTC. We'll be back real soon with another fun episode. Enjoy this NBA season here, and hopefully Luka gets a little help out there and they can get about 500 pretty soon.
Absolutely.
But until next time, guys, we'll see you later, and have a good one.